Abortion rights have always been a hot-button issue in political campaigns, and this one is no exception. In an interview with the Des Moines Register, Republican presidential candidate Mitt Romney said, quote, "There's no legislation with regards to abortion that I'm familiar with that would become part of my agenda." And that statement doesn't really gel with some of the things he said before.
In my view, the right course forward for those of us who are pro-life is to fight to change hearts and minds and to see Roe v. Wade overturned, and that would allow states and the elected representatives of the people to be able to make their own decisions with regards to abortion.
Easy things I'm going to cut. Obamacare. I'm getting rid of that. All right. And I will. And the idea of the federal government funding Planned Parenthood, I'm going to say no. We're going to stop that. I'm going to stop things.
The Romney campaign then issued a statement yesterday to clarify, saying the candidate is, quote, proudly pro-life and would still support banning federal funds from Planned Parenthood. Joining me now, Republican strategist Ron Bonjean and Democratic strategist Kiki McLean. So good morning to both of you. So,
good morning.
Ron, is Mitt Romney trying to move more to the center? I mean, what does his statement mean?
Well, first of all, Mitt Romney is going to be a pro-life president, and his campaign has said he will have a pro-life agenda. And then in that same interview with the Des Moines Register, he said that he would reinstitute the Mexico City policy, which would end federal funding for abortions overseas in other countries. But what he's doing right now is he's talking about what voters care about, which is jobs, the economy, rising deficits.
Okay, I understand that, but
that's what he's focused on.
Hang on, Ron. We're not going to do the talking points here. I asked you a very simple question.
I'm telling you
what did he mean? I didn't ask you about the economy. We can get to that. That's a different issue. What did he mean in his statement? It seems to be contradictory statement. So what did he mean there?
Well, I just told you what he meant. He said that his agenda is not going to be focused on abortion. It's going to be he did not say it's going to be focused on other issues, but obviously it's going to be. And that's why I talked about the economy and what voters care about in these last 27 days.
Okay, so Kiki, in the presidential debate, Romney was criticized for changing positions on issues. And former President Bill Clinton had something to say about it. Take a listen.
I had a different reaction to that first debate than a lot of people did. I mean, I thought, wow, here's old moderate Mitt. Where you been, boy? I missed you all these last 2 years. So just show up with a sunny face and say, I didn't say all that stuff I said the last 2 years. I don't have that tax plan I had for the last 2 years. You gonna believe me or your lying eyes here? Come on. What are you doing? And if I'd been the president, I might have said, well, I hate to get in the way of this. I miss you.
Boy, Bill Clinton there, like no other. So, listen, this has been a talking point from the left since the debate that Mitt Romney lied. But does Bill Clinton have a point here?
Well, he has a point when he looks up and he says, the voice that we've been hearing the last week hasn't been reflective of the voice of the last 2 years. So when you look at his comments yesterday about choice and abortion, it's one of those tricky questions that you got to make sure you ask the right follow-up question or you might not get the real answer. So it's almost fibbing by omission, if you will. Well, there's no legislation today that I would get behind and engage in versus, well, what if somebody else wrote a bill you did get behind? Or what if you told your staff to go draft legislation that you got behind? You have to look at the record of what they've said and what they've done. And in this case, Mitt Romney has said, I'm going to nominate people to the Supreme Court who support overturning Roe versus Wade. I take Ron and his colleagues in the Republican Party at face value when they say that this is an anti-choice president, and kind of trying to slip through that needle right there is not going to do anything to close that agenda.
You made a good point. You said unless you ask the follow-up question, because the onus, and I've heard Democrats saying, oh, the media should have called Romney out on his lies. On the debate stage, the onus was on the president to do that, and the president didn't do it. And if you heard Bill Clinton there at the end, he made a very good point. He said, I would have said, oh, welcome. Where have you been? I've missed you. That's the kind of follow-up that people were looking for. It didn't happen.
I'm not sure, as somebody who's been through a lot of debates at the staff level, I'm not sure that a whole lot of smart aleck gets you anywhere. And those are the kinds of moments that make you feel better, but don't necessarily advance your own argument. And the president has his own argument and vision for the country that he needs to advance. Is it the right place for anybody to question him? And do we always want to see somebody who's not laying out the truth be challenged? We absolutely do. We're talking about one day in 90 minutes. I suspect you will see more assertion and aggression in the coming days, as you already have from the campaign. They moved very quickly to respond to those elements. But, you know, you got to be careful in that interaction, and the president has his own message to drive forward, not just to police Mitt Romney's. There are people like you, Don Lemon, who also engage in the role of policing what both candidates say.
Right, and what people say on television, make sure they don't,
That's right.
you know, fall back on talking points. So, Ron, I think you also brought up a very good point where you said, okay, this election is about the economy.
Right.
Understood. Could this hurt Romney, though, in the sense that it moves him away from his pro-life base?
Well, as long as his campaign is saying he's going to be a pro-life president, and of course he's going to appoint pro-life Supreme Court justices to the bench, I think the pro-life base will be okay with that, and I think they understand that voters want to hear what about the concerns of what's going on in the country right now with the economy, with rising debt and deficits. I think that's what the campaign is focused on, and, you know, polls say far and away that that's what they want to hear. They want to hear what the candidates' plans are, and that's why Mitt Romney is focused on that and not turning this into a whole pro-life, pro-choice debate.
But the question was, again, does this stand the chance of moving him away from his base?
No, and I answered the question. I said the pro-life base is not going to be bothered by this because they know that he's going to be a pro-life president.
Okay.
They know he's going to appoint pro-life Supreme Court justice to the bench, and he's going to end the Mexico City, or he's going to reinstate the Mexico City policy.
Ron Bonjean, Kiki McLean, thank you very much.
Thanks so
you.
much, Don.
We'll be right back.